Girl Studios, where we talk about Indiana politics from the left side of things. Listen, y'all, Sister Girl be 50 this year. Sometimes the throat just don't need some warming up. I couldn't get that out. It got caught. How's everybody doing? Did you enjoy your weekend? Everybody staying safe? Staying up to date on what's going on with COVID, making sure that everybody is safe at home and got your masks. I know our governor is ready to get you out there without tests and get you going out there so you can infect each other. I don't want that. I don't want that. We could be like Georgia though. They opened up the bowling alleys because that's so important. So important. But I'm not going to complain tonight because you know what? Every now and then you get to meet somebody when you hanging out at Victory. And when you meet them, you be like, she's the bomb. That's what happened over 4 years ago when I had a chance to meet then Councilwoman LaWana Mayfield from Charlotte, North Carolina. Yo, she don't take no stuff, y'all. So if you're going to bring the funk, you got to bring it funkier than her. Y'all give it up for a turn left guest tonight, LaWana Mayfield. LaWana, thank you for joining us.
Thank you so much for having me. And I will say welcome almost to the 50 Club.
So, I'm on my way. I'll be there in June, baby. I'll be there in June.
I lucked up. Mine was in January. We had a crazy blowout party. So I am thankful because I don't know what your birthday going to look like with COVID-19.
I know. I actually planned on going to Mexico. I had a trip, not just planned, paid for. Everything paid. Yeah, I probably ain't going to get to go to Mexico.
Well, we were supposed to be there in May for the LGBT Music Fest. I don't know if you've heard of it, but it's their 5-year anniversary. They actually postponed it back to September. So I'm hoping in Mexico they'll let us Americans in, considering we got an idiot for a president. So I'm hoping they'll say, nah, y'all don't get to come in.
You know what?
No, stay home.
Wait a minute, you know what? They might not. They might be like, those Americans, they not too bright. They don't understand that stay-at-home mess.
I'm like, because like you said, with the governor in Atlanta, okay, here's the funny thing. You've opened up hair salons, you've opened up barbershops, you've opened up bowling alley, but the governor's mansion still closed.
I don't understand them. I don't understand that one.
What are we doing? Okay, that's what we're doing. And North Carolina, we're dealing with it.
What y'all got going on?
Our governor extended the stay-at-home until May 8th. But yet you've opened the door for even more businesses to so-called be essential businesses. So that kind of defeats the purpose. But, North Carolina governor, we got a Democratic governor. He weak as hell, but, he tries. I'm going to try to give him that.
You said that. You said that out loud. You do know that, right? On Facebook. I just want you to...
I've said it on Twitter, on Instagram, on Facebook, because he is weak. Because if he stood his ground, they're out there protesting. They have this group that was created where they're talking about reopen North Carolina. Well, the co-founder just tested positive for COVID-19.
Yeah, we saw that.
First of all, I want to know why the hell you got a test, because your ass shouldn't even get a test just for the fact that you're ignorant. And at some point, we got to have a real conversation about natural selection. If you're dumb enough to take your butt to the hair salon, to the bowling alley, to the party, and it's 150 to 3,000 of y'all up in there, you get what you get.
Yeah, I mean, this is true, and I can't even argue with that. I mean, I try not to talk about natural selection because, they try to do that with us, with eugenics and all of that other mess.
Right, and they've been doing it, and they still doing it with us, and they doing it with us willingly, because who taking their asses to the bowling alley?
And the nail salon.
To the hair salon.
And the barbershop.
To the nail salon and to the barbershop. So that's natural selection. So if you're dumb enough to do it when your own governor has not opened up the governor's mansion, then that should let you know, stay your butt home.
Yeah, and people are just getting so antsy, like they ain't never had to restrict themselves for something. Like, first of all, what drives me crazy is listening to all these people talk about, you're infringing on my civil rights. I want to be able to do what I want to do, but
Isn't it interesting? All these people that all of a sudden have become pro-choice.
Oh my God! Wait a minute, but wait. When I stand up to law enforcement and I get shot, I should have obeyed. Why didn't you obey?
But let's think about it. Y'all out here with machine guns, with all kind of weaponry, talking about reopen. Okay, had that been 10 black folk, the National Guard, the dogs, the water hoses, the fire hydrants, the billy clubs, everything else would have been out there. So I need black folks to just step back and recognize, don't willingly be a guinea pig. Because I've already said until, and people can be mad about this all you want, until we see large numbers of wealthy white people die, ain't nothing gonna change.
Well, no, well, see, fortunately, or unfortunately, how you want to look at it, wealthy white folk ain't gonna die because they have the ability to get the health care that they need. They are
And
able.
they're staying at home because
Yeah,
we working for them. And we
right.
spending that little $7.25 an hour check to go out and buy nonsense, just like the people that got their little $1,200. Okay, let's break that down. It's $300 a week. That's $7.25 an hour. So you ain't really getting nothing. But okay, what you do? Go buy out all the TVs at Walmart. What the hell you gonna do with a flat screen TV? We're in the middle of a pandemic.
Well, people they got their priorities all messed up because they don't understand the importance of you should have put that money back because that's the only time you're gonna get it.
Thank you. Natural selection. Everybody ain't gonna make it. I'm sorry. We don't like to talk about it. My new favorite show, Black AF, we don't want to talk about it. Natural selection. Everybody ain't gonna make it. And yes, I said ain't. AIN''T. Everybody ain't gonna make it.
You know what I want to tell me? I want to know. You unfortunately, you had an election this past year and
Yes,
didn't.
and I did not get reelected.
But do you feel free? I didn't want to know.
Okay, so here's the thing, which you already knew this, Dana. I didn't. Well, okay, so let me say this. Believe it or not, people really did receive a censored version of me.
No, I believe it.
So people thought that I wasn't censored. I really was censored, even though I still said what I need to say because, yes, I'm a proud Democrat. I am probably a super progressive beyond Democrat because I'm not going to let Democrats get away with nonsense either. Because Republican or Democrat, what you doing for the working poor? What you doing for the unworking poor? What you doing for minorities? If you're not actually helping the people, then I'm not concerned about what your party affiliation is. Okay. But what I realized after, of which I'm going to back up and say thank you to all those that did vote, because we had more than 34,000 people that came out and voted for me. That is unheard of for a representative, because in North Carolina, we have districts, not wards. So I was a district representative for 8 years, and I ran at large, meaning I would have been representing the entire city. There's only 4 at-large seats. So it was less than a 1.5%, 2% difference between me and the 4th person. Mm-hmm. So I'm thankful that the community saw my work. Mm-hmm. But what I realized after, because the elections were held, we still didn't end. We had a primary, so I didn't make it through the primary. That was in May, June, whatever. So I still continued my work until November. But on November, the day after the election, when I tell you, first of all, we got up and drove outside of Charlotte to Godfather's Pizza. So I don't know if y'all have we don't have Godfathers in Charlotte.
We used to have Godfathers. We don't have it
so
anymore.
That was like a big thing.
Yeah.
So we don't have it in Charlotte. It's like in Salisbury or somewhere like 45 minutes, an hour outside of Charlotte. So we got up and went to Godfathers. For the next week, the weight that was lifted, what I realized is that I was on 100 for 6 years. Mm-hmm. 6 of the 8 years I was in office, I was on 100. Because I don't know how not to be black. Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. So them colored folks that served with me, that because we were both all melanated, that did nothing or very little for black people and got on my nerves on a daily basis. And when I called it out, the community would be upset about me calling it out opposed to being upset about them doing it.
Right.
That took a toll. That took a toll on my health. That took not physically health, but my emotional and my spiritual health.
Well, that's what's most important,
And you don't think about it. When you're in the middle of it, when you're in the middle of fighting, and when you're fighting for justice, you're so used to just fighting. What I realized afterwards is that I don't want to be a warrior. I want to be a queen.
Okay.
The difference being, I don't have to be on the front lines fighting every battle. As a queen, if I am a good queen, then my people will learn what they need to do and go out and be able to fight for themselves.
And that's the hard part, right? Because the systems are put in place, right? They've been in place for a long time to make it difficult for us to obtain the necessary information to figure out how to help ourselves, right? People talk about these bootstraps and all of that other shit.
Right.
Oh, I cursed. My bad.
Yeah, you needed to give me a disclaimer because on my podcast we have adult language, so I drop a cuss word.
I usually don't because I have young folk that watch my show, so I try to.
Thank you for letting me know. I would not do that.
But you see, you got me hyped. I dropped the S bomb just that quick, But and you know what? And the reason why I try to keep it on a different level is because I'm leaving the ladder down. Right, I'm leaving the ladder down, and I want these young. Yes, I want the people to come behind me, and I want them to be better than me.
Of great. We have to stop giving passes, and as Black folks, we are our own worst enemy because we are so determined to try to live up to white America's dreams that we forgot that everything they have they stole from us. Oh. So let's just have a real conversation. We built this nation. You plump up your lips because you want full lips like us. You go get injections in your rump, in your hips, in your breasts, in your cheeks. You go get your hair done to look like us because you want everything that there is about Blackness except for the pain of being Black. Mm-hmm. Now, if there was a time where Black people would ever treat white America the way white America has treated us, that is the fear that allows them to do it. But because we as a nation are so complacent, that is the complacency that won't allow us to work together.
Well, I think I've often said that I think one of the fears that we see a lot of times from white America is reciprocation. You know, they believe that, you know, someone may treat them the way others had been treated. When if that's what we really wanted to do, we could have really done it already. I mean, it's not like
we won't do it. We will. That's not kowtow to the detriment of ourselves. How many so-called Black leaders in community have gone into majority, predominantly lower income, minority community and said, hey, I'm with the government and we are going to bring an infrastructure investment over here. But we don't tell you, none of y'all going to be here to benefit from it.
Right. We don't.
How many times have we been the face to go in for somebody white pulling the strings? Okay, let's look at it. Look at Charlotte, North Carolina. Charlotte's hosting the RNC. Okay. You got 11 council members. Out of 11, 9 Democrats, only 2 Republicans. Out of 11, 6 Black, including your mayor. No other city bid on the RNC. Why is Charlotte hosting the RNC?
Well, they trying to get that money, I guess.
It ain't even about the money, because at some point, you got to recognize that blood money ain't good money. That's the first thing. And second of all, how is that going to benefit our community when this man in the White House has 100,000 people come out on your everyday nonsense? So what do you think hosting the largest Klan rally is going to do as far as bringing down our city?
Did you just call the Republican Party the Klan rally?
That's exactly what. This Republican Party is the largest Klan rally. I said it then, and I'll say it now. Because here's the thing. I have had great relationships with my Republican counterparts, both in the state of North Carolina, as well as in Congress. Mm-hmm. But under this administration, what we have is some Jim Jones nonsense. Because this man and his family have financially benefited on so many different levels. This man who is a rapist, this man who your spouse who was an undocumented immigrant that came into this nation, which you have created all kind of rules and regulations that affect everybody else. You and your family who have all these business ties in China, but you want to put restrictions on, and nobody is saying, these so-called Democrats are doing nothing. You give a stimulus package, but you take out all of the benefits and all of the clawbacks that will protect the working people. So who benefited off that stimulus package? The wealthy and the Trump family.
Yeah, I was reading here the other day, just today, that the Lakers ended up giving back money. Yeah. The Lakers. Well, first of all, why would the Lakers even put in an application? Why would you put in an application?
But let's talk about the impact of white supremacy and visualization. They wrote the article and showed the article of the players, not of the white owners.
Right.
So why you gonna put the Black players on there because they are what? Employees. But you're going to talk about the Lakers got money, but you ain't showing these white people faces on there. Yeah. You ain't talking about the fact that Jared Kushner owns the company that this idiot is telling people is supposed to be making the
antivirus, the virus
that are needed, an antiviral drug. You're not talking about the fact that this company that the FDA approved already has multiple lawsuits against them because of misdiagnosing Black women with cancer and having them go through having multiple surgeries, some who will never be able to have children. What? But the FDA going to approve this company be the one that's supposed to be making the miracle job. First of all, it takes a year plus to find something, but you won't hear the Democrats talk about the fact that, wait a minute, your idiot in chief is the one that shut down the entire department 3 years ago. But then you're gonna say what Obama did. Oh well, let's look at it. In 2017, who was running the nation? You idiot. But we won't say that.
Well, I don't know. Nancy Pelosi is getting to the point where she's getting closer. She's getting closer. You got AOC that's out there putting it in. In fact, the squad just shows up on a regular basis. So
they show up, but where were they when the contracts were being signed? Well, for this so-called stimulus, how did all of these major corporations, how do these major banks? So I have a friend girl here. So our home insurance, our life insurance, our auto insurance, home insurance is through State Farm. State Farm here in Charlotte, I have an African-American female-owned agency.
Okay.
Her hundreds plus thousands of dollars was with a large bank. Okay. Did that large bank call her about the PPEs? It was a smaller bank that she wasn't even affiliated with. So she took out her hundreds of thousands from this large bank and invested it into this local bank that actually helped her get her funding, and then all of a sudden the large bank called. But if we're going to say, well, the Democrats are going to do better, I need more than AOC. I need more than Nancy Pelosi. I need more than my Congresswoman, who I love, Alma Adams. I need more than the handful that are stepping up to protect us, because right now they are not protecting us. They are still protecting the wealthy. And we're going to end up being in a version of the Hunger Games if we keep playing.
Girl, look, and I'm going to win.
Just think about it.
I'm going to win because I got my exercise equipment in my condo. I'm ready. But anyway.
But think about it. But let's think about it. Meat has so much meat, and meat packers and meat production companies have been contaminated. Yeah. You have hundreds of employees that have been diagnosed with COVID-19. So they're shutting down the plants. You have some states saying we're not letting people in from other states. Personally, I wish North Carolina say all you idiots from Georgia and from South Carolina and from Florida, y'all can't cross our line. But we ain't doing that, whatever. But that means trucks aren't going to be able to make deliveries. You already have people lining up daily at food banks because they're not able to feed their families. And so many people that have been laid off. So when these companies sit up here and they say, oh, the governor says we're going to reopen the state, let's think about what that means. That means for those companies who were trying to protect their employees by still paying them and letting them stay home and be safe, you're now forcing them to work. And now you get to say, well, the governor said that everything could be open, so you should have had your employees working. So now you're going to interfere with people's unemployment, and you're interfering with that small business. But at the same time, the governor's mansion isn't open for tours. So how is that okay?
How does that square? It doesn't square. But we already know we put the most vulnerable people on the front lines. That's nothing new, right? So now all of this discussion that we're having really centers around the importance of why we must be involved, why we must stay engaged in the election process. Because all of the things you just mentioned are very true on so many levels in so many places. But what happens is we hear the problems and we think we can't do anything to fix them.
And we can't, because like you said, it all starts local. If we engage, not just engage with getting people, like I'm just going to go ahead and put my disclaimer. I am not a fan of registering people to vote. I'm a fan of getting those lazy people who are already registered your butt up out the house to go vote.
That's it.
Because if I have 800,000 people on the rolls and 200,000 of y'all come out, I'm more concerned about how to get you other 600,000 out your house to get your lazy butt to the poll and vote. And if you don't feel like there's a candidate that speaks to your voice, then run.
Yes, absolutely. And that's the key. We have the power to change things. We have the power to have that revolution. And I tell them all the time here in Indiana, you know what, if the power of the vote wasn't so amazing, they wouldn't work so hard to try to keep you from it.
Exactly. But we won't see that. And if they dangle the smallest carrot, like $1,200, and you forget everything else that's going on. It's like, okay, so first of all, your mortgage company still gonna want their payment. Oh, landlord still is going to want their rent. Even though they may say they're going to postpone the water bill, light bill, only thing that's doing is being adding up.
Adding up.
They're not saying that they're waiving the fee. They're just saying they're going to postpone it,
Mm-hmm.
which means that's accumulated. So put that money aside.
Yeah.
But recognize, still be prepared to go vote. And again, if you don't like the candidates,
Run yourself.
then become a candidate.
And see, the other part of that is that the virus really, all it did was pull the curtain back on a lot of the cracks that we already had in our nation's foundation anyway.
But did it?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Okay. Wait. Real talk though. I mean, those of us in marginalized communities, we already seen the cracks.
Exactly.
Okay. So for those that hadn't actually experienced, oh my God, my rights are being violated. This is all new to them. This is all.
But again, white supremacy, the foundation of it is leading their conversation. They still have not tapped into their humanity to understand that if I think this is difficult, how difficult must it be for those that don't have an option?
They don't see. They don't. No. I was having a discussion with a lady online early this morning, late last night, and all she talked about was how she did things and how I was able to get stuff done, and I was like, do you really think everybody lives like you? Do you think everybody has the same resources you have? Do you think everybody has access to information like you do? So the idea that you think everybody should be like you is all jacked up. But the thing of it is that when I say it pulled the curtain back, like there are conversations like we were having here in Indiana. We're a very red state. and like healthcare, right? We have counties, multiple counties that don't have healthcare facilities. They literally have to leave the county that they live in, travel out of the county to go find a healthcare facility. This has been a systematic thing that's been happening from the top down. But when these rural communities are out voting, they weren't voting on the fact that they didn't have proper health care in their county. They were voting on whether or not somebody was going to assume to take their guns away from them, or that gay people can get married and you might actually have to see it. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah, but we got to there's a level of this, Dana, where we got to take some personal responsibility. If no other time, this is the time of information overload. Mm-hmm. You can find out everything that you want to find out. If you can spend time watching that nonsense on TV about damn tigers, of which no, I did not watch that nonsense.
I did. I had to watch the train wreck.
No, I refuse. So if you can take the time to do that, then you can take the time to educate yourself on the importance of how does this really impact me? I recognize that even though we are not millionaires, but we are blessed. We have a home, we have vehicles, we have food in the refrigerator, food in the cabinet. My spouse is able to work from home and still be paid well. I'm receiving a check while I'm not able to do the work that I want to do until we get to a place where it's safer to go out. We are privileged and we are entitled to a certain level, and I recognize that. But the fact that we have individuals out there that do not even take the time to stop and think about why can't this individual go do what it is that I did, because you can't say you don't know, because it's all over television. We done put it to you in a damn documentary. We done gave you the 13th. We done gave you damn Roots. We done gave you all these.
Sometimes they don't want to know.
We done tap dance and shut and jive for you to explain it. And if you don't want to understand it, then that's your truth. You don't understand.
But see, what I try to explain to them is our experiences. See, they all upset. Things are happening so bad. It's like, no, this ain't new. It's been happening to marginalized communities. It just wasn't happening to you. And so because it didn't happen to you, now you all shocked and surprised. But that's also why we are in better position, I think, sometimes to become the next.
We're going to survive.
Are we going to be
not just that? We're going to survive.
Not just that. We're going to be
Here's the thing, though. You're nicer than me, because I'm not going to take the time to explain that to you. Because you come to me with that, to be perfectly honest, I'm like, oh, your feelings hurt?
Well, but you know,
welcome to the reality that people have been dealing with for 400 years.
I do tell it to them. I just tell it in a way. Okay, here's my thing.
You're nicer.
Yeah, Catherine raised me, and I don't want her coming down. Yesterday was her birthday, so I don't want her coming around hitting me on top. She already mad at me because I shaved my head.
I saw that.
And look, I am loving this. Oh my God, this is great. Oh girl, I'm loving this. But anyway, the thing of it is though, and I get that. I tell people here who are much more aggressive than I am in the way they do things. I tell them all the time, we need everybody in every every role. There needs to be somebody that stirs the pot and gets the dander up. And then you need somebody to come in that soothes the salve a little bit. Everybody has a role. Everybody has a job to do. You know what I'm saying? So, yeah. Hey, wake them up.
And my role is definitely one that is going to challenge your complacency. Because trying to talk nice to some people, like I put on my Twitter page the other day, some white people just make it really difficult to love you. Ooh. Because y'all just do real nonsensical things. Like when you look at these individuals that are out here talking about reopen their state, and you have the individuals that literally shut down the highway as the hospital workers and doctors were trying to get to work. Okay, I personally feel like there should have been police out there, because again, had they been black, all that would have been shut down in the first 20 minutes. But okay, there should have been people out there capturing everybody's name. And just like at the post office, when you have a criminal and they have their pictures up, all your pictures, your name, your date of birth, everything is up at every hospital. So if you come in, you sit in the waiting room.
But this ain't new. Remember when they was out west in Utah or wherever it was, and the dude was still in federal land and had his animals grazing? And
exactly.
they was on the bridge, laid down in the prone position, about pointing at law enforcement. Nobody was arrested. Nobody got killed.
But we walked through the street with a freaking sign.
Yeah.
And you killing us.
No, you at the crib eating ice cream. You at the crib eating ice cream. You at the
minding your business.
Minding your business in your crib.
In your house.
Yes, you can still get shot.
So I'm like, okay, you know what? So that's what we doing, but y'all don't want to acknowledge that. So then I saw a social media post where some typical Becky, Karen, Susie, I don't care which one you want to call them, holding up a sign comparing this time to slavery.
Yeah.
I wanted to reach, if I had the power, Octavia Butler, may she rest in peace, one of the best sci-fi writers ever. If I had the ability to reach through time, I would have reached through and chopped her dead in her throat. Chopped her in her throat.
But you know, it's all about perspective.
It's not perspective. It's the level of entitlement that you have.
Same thing.
You have no respect for other people's lives.
Because they didn't think slavery was all that bad. In some people's minds, it was, well, we fed you and clothed you and gave you a place to live. What's the problem?
Us, whether we were men or women, and for our women.
What I'm saying is that's how some people think.
Own children, you had to use my breast milk to feed your.
That's how some people think.
Children.
That's how some people think, and because they think that way.
Co-sign on it though. That's the conversation we got to have, because we could have stopped a lot of it. Just think about it. Even within the LGBTQ community.
Come on.
Let's think about the civil rights movement. So when Barrett Rustin was at the beginning, because again, we love Dr. King, but Dr. King ain't have no relationship with the union workers.
Right.
That was Barrett. Had those two movements walked together and stayed together, it would be a very different conversation. As Black people, for the bus, how many days did we shut down? 381 days we did not ride the bus.
Yes.
But these Negroes can't sit in their doggone house for 4 weeks without running to go do some bowling or go to the hair salon. What you getting the fly for? You finna go
back in the house.
To go sit at your house? What are you doing?
You know, because they didn't take the next step. You know, when I have a friend who's elected officials down in Bloomington, and we always talk about how people don't have the capability of problem solving, and they can't go to the next step. That's a problem of poorly funded public education. That's one thing.
Okay.
But what we are finding is that people don't take the next step. They don't know how to discern information and disseminate it in a way that makes sense to when they're making decisions, right? So you going to go get your hair done so you can go sit back at home. That means you didn't take the next step. You didn't think that through. I got to get my hair done so I can sit up and look at myself in the mirror.
Well, there's also a piece of which I said this years ago, and if I was actually a person that had an attention span that went beyond that of a gnat, I would actually write a book about it, about the DNA impact of slavery. Mm-hmm. Because there is a clear conversation that we don't have, not only for white America, but for Black America. Mm-hmm. So for that Black child that watched their family member be strung up, stripped, and brutalized, what was that message that was sent? And also for that white child who saw the same thing growing up. So then we get to where we are today. And after Gen X, and I'm going to blame my generation, we went to sleep because
Yeah, we did.
we did not continue to educate our children the way our parents and our
Yeah.
grandparents educated us. So we wanted them to have the best of everything and not struggle. And by not struggling, these young people today are not prepared for no. They're
No.
not prepared for the word no.
No.
We have a higher suicide rate. We have youth because everybody gets a ribbon for showing up.
Participation trophies.
That's you. Whereas you and I, when we were growing up, you had first, second, and third. That's it. If you didn't make it first, second, and third, you can forget it. Fourth, fifth, sixth, don't nobody care. Now everybody got to get a trophy just for showing up. But what we also did is created an environment where we no longer question what's going on around us. We no longer push ourselves to do better.
Yeah.
We opposed to working harder. We would rather either cry and pout about not getting what we have, or we think entitlement says we should take what you have, opposed to working harder to get. Now, we know as Black people in America, I'm not talking about Asians, I'm not talking about Latinos, I'm talking about Black in America. We know that systemic legislative policy was created to ensure that we had constant obstacles from the beginning of loans and that freaking GI Bill, the so-called New Deal, the impact of redlining and gentrification, the fact that gentrification was reintroduced into our lives last year after having so many communities devalued with botched property evaluations in 2011 all over the nation. And now you go through neighborhoods where homes were valued at 25, 30,000, and now you got $500,000 homes in them. So we stop teaching our youth that, hey, look around and ask the question. Don't just assume that what they're telling you is right. Think about the source and who does this narrative benefit? Because it's the victors that write the narrative. But if we knew those who were impacted, if we, Gen X, had instilled in our families, in our children, in our nieces and our nephews, the importance of the work that we did, then we probably wouldn't be where we are right now. We will have a stronger generation of both Black, white, Latino, Asia Pacific Islander people that recognize that collectively, if we working people come together, we can change all this. There will be no Jeff Bezos and all these other people out here determining what
the
our
direction
lives
of our
are going
nation.
to be.
I mean, it's the oldest story in American history, right? It is the absolute oldest story because we already know that there were white indentured servants here at the same time that they were Black.
They were indentured servants.
Indentured servants, and then
Not
when they
slaves.
saw when the landowners, which were the wealthy people, the 1%ers, when they saw that my white indentured servants and my Black indentured servants are coming together, and there's more of them than there are of us. Hey, white indentured servant, check this out. Well, I'm going to put you in charge of the Black slave now.
Because
and it's the same narrative. It ain't nothing changed.
We're still doing it. If we can make the most illiterate white person feel like they're better than the most highly trained, highly educated Black, then we will be able to continue this divide. And the challenge is, again, right now, natural selection. So we as Black folks ain't helping when we run our happy tails out there and trying to go bowling and trying to get our hair did.
I don't even understand that.
Like I mean, look, like my nails, they looking real cute, right? Real cute. That's me sitting my tail at home doing them because I ain't got nothing else to do.
Hey, look, I told them this is what I feel about going to the barbershop. I got the clippers out, baby. Let's just go on, shave all this off. Let's see. Only thing that's gonna happen is I'm gonna look funny. You know what I'm saying? I've been looking funny.
You rocking it. You got a good shaved head. Like I got kind of flat head, so that wouldn't really look right if I turned to the side. So I'm gonna need a little hair. I'm gonna need a little.
I got a dent like right here. But it's all good.
You can't see it though.
It's all good, But again, I wouldn't even care, right? We all have issues, and when you put common sense in front of everything else, like I said, none of that other stuff matters. And again, I want to reiterate, why all these issues that we're talking about and all the concerns that we have about the direction of our nation, why this election is so important and why we
Yes.
must stay involved. Talk to the people about. I don't know what North Carolina. Listen, first of all, I want to say this. I gotta say this. You gotta hear me out. So there was some Bernie supporter fans in Indiana who were not thrilled with the vote totals in the primary in South Carolina, right? And they were upset because they felt like, well, we didn't educate that voter on who Bernie Sanders was. And I was a little taken aback because it made it seem like all these black voters were low information voters. Is that what you're trying to say? But when you say it like that, they had,
entitlement.
yeah. So what? Talk about what's going on in the South, y'all. What do you? I mean, I don't know. Some people. So talk about what you. I know that you
have the conversation. Because South Carolina is different than North Carolina, but here's the thing. Joe had a very strong presence in South Carolina. He is very well known in South Carolina. At the end of the day, it's one wealthy white 70-year-old white man against another wealthy white 70-something-year-old white man trying to be another 70-something-year-old wealthy white man. So what I personally am disappointed in is that you had the most diverse slate of potential presidential candidates than this nation has ever seen, with gender, ethnicity, age, and what it came down to is two 70-plus-year-old wealthy white men.
Trust me, when I talked about it, when the first debate that came on, I had Facebooked out about, okay, go ahead and get the old white dudes out the way first. And I was just talking about the order in which they would speak. Man, exactly. The whole state came after me and was like, well, what if we said we were trying to get rid of black people? I said, I didn't even say that.
Y'all been doing it for 400 years.
But that's not even what I said. It wasn't even what I said. But then Barack Obama, but then Barack Obama came right behind me a couple months later and said the same thing. I said, Barack, better watch yourself. He better.
Here's the thing. As long as you are black, as long as you are female, present as black female, nothing you say is going to receive
the fairness.
The way anyone in white America. So there have been plenty of times where the media has tried to vilify me because of comments that I said, but then you turn around 6 months, a year later, a news reporter said the exact same thing that I said, and I was like, oh, so because they white, now all of a sudden there's validity in it?
That's the way it goes, man.
It's that piece where we can trace it back. Again, everything traces back to slavery. Why I love Black AF. So you can trace it back. We can go back to the women's suffrage movement. It was all good and dandy as long as black women were saying, yes, we want to help you white women get the power to vote. But when we said, okay, this power to vote is for all of us, right? Nah, that's not what we were thinking. Okay, wait a minute. So black women have always been
that's not what we were thinking.
Because that's what it boiled down to. But yet, we are always the ones that step up and fight for everybody else.
We do. Here I am, right here. Indiana's own, right here, fighting for everybody.
But what we tend to let others sidetrack us.
Yeah.
Tend to compromise to the point where we would rather compromise the lesser of two evils than get the best. So again, for South Carolina, you had, and for the entire nation, we had amazing candidates out there. Yes, there were faults with multiple candidates, because if you live long enough, you're going to do something jacked up, regardless of your race. Yeah. You're going to do something jacked up if you live long enough. But the men that are getting in trouble because of relationships with women, okay, this is where I'm going to fall on that, and I know a whole bunch of y'all get ready to get mad about this. Trump, when he go to jail, that's when we can have a conversation. Okay. Because this dude, not only are you damn near a pedophile, and you said it out of your own mouth with the teen awards and how you were walking to young girls' dressing rooms, the fact that you basically lauded your position and your so-called power over women in order to have sex with them, the fact that you felt comfortable grabbing women by their vaginas, and that's okay, the fact that you are a horrible businessman and never paid your debt, and at best you will see average student, and your ass is the equivalent of all these so-called celebrities that's getting in trouble now. Your parents paid for your education because you have a third grade reading level at best, but yet we want to sit up and continuously let people get attacked opposed to standing up and saying, you know what? Every time somebody say something, let me know when we gonna arrest Trump. That's all you gotta say.
Ain't that it? Ain't that?
But
we
we
don't
won't
want.
do
They
that.
don't. We don't want to do that.
So
You know,
when you think about
we don't do
Bernie not getting the support, it is extremely disrespectful for white folks to say, well, they just weren't educated. They who? You talking about black folks? You don't know my story. I don't care
Yeah.
what book you read. You can't out black me. So you can't tell
I
me.
had to tell somebody that one time. You know, you don't know black people better than me. You do know that, right?
It's like, just because you read a book and you studied black studies as an elective, you can't out black me, so you can't out black my experience.
Right.
And we all don't have the same experience.
Just like I can't out white you, right? I can't out.
Right.
I can't.
There's no way
I
that I
can't.
can do it.
I
You
can't.
were born into some nonsense that I don't know
I
nothing
don't know
about.
about.
You and your children, just like the little girl the other day, you gonna take a Mentos or some nonsense and a soda pop and drink it, and you got soda spilling through your nose. So when Trump say stupid things like inject yourself with Clorox, y'all the idiots that was out there using dishwashing liquid tablets and doing that. Y'all them fools that's gonna go do that nonsense.
Wait a minute. There was a governor that said that.
Stop.
There was a governor that said, I can't even remember. I can't remember which state it was in, but there was a governor who said his health hotline was blowing up because people were wanting to know if they should listen to Donald Trump. I'm like,
think about this. You have the creator of Clorox and all of these disinfecting companies having to spend money to do commercials.
disclaimers. Don't do it. Don't do it.
Don't do it. Like I don't know why I got to tell y'all idiots not to do it, but don't do it.
But again, I take it back to, I'm gonna be real talk here. The defunding of public education and the system that has created, because we are not educating people anymore. We are warehousing kids. We're not teaching kids anymore. You know, the fact in Indiana we have a shortage of teachers. We have every year they've been I mean literally they put on Republican colors. And they called themselves Red for Ed and went to the State House and begged the legislators before this last session to give teachers a raise. And they still didn't. I mean, literally begged them in red. We got on Red for Ed. We got your colors on. We gonna do this orderly. We got our permits. Would you please give us some money? And they will not do it. And I never will. I still don't understand why they continue to get the support of people who are begging the government to do what they're supposed to do, which is represent them and take care of them.
Yeah. We are trained to be complacent.
Yeah, and that's
that
again.
Is why
our Miss Coleman was the Miss Maxine Coleman. She just passed away. She was the only black teacher that I had at Nora Elementary School, which was on the north side of town. I was literally like bused within the school district. I passed like 6-7 elementary schools on my way to Nora, but she held us accountable. Every black student, she talked to us like she was our mama, and dare you to say something back.
Representation matters.
Absolutely. And what we have done right now is devalued what authority out of a parental figure is like, because, you know, you can't do nothing to me. You ain't my mama. And then we have...
Yeah, because our generation didn't grow up with that.
No.
Our generation grew up with, not only did I have to worry about, I need to get home, because Miss Johnson, Miss Jenkins, and Mr. Bob, before I even got home, I had to go through a lecture from them before I even got to my house, and then they very well may have been rich.
Well, see, and my daddy was the one that gave the lectures, and everybody used to be like, "Oh, Mr. Black, Mr. Black." He would be the one.
Accountability, because there was this collective of when we once said it takes a village, but then we didn't raise our children that way.
Yeah.
We raised our children to be independent and not need anybody and not be held accountable because we didn't want them to have such a hard life. So we haven't prepared them for the real world, because the real world then gonna slap you down. And now where you're faced with this, and what we're learning in these last 4 weeks, that the most important people out there, those who really should be making money,
I ain't making no
are
money.
our essential workers, but yet we won't protect our essential workers. We want to go out there and protest and march and put their lives even in further
Yeah,
danger.
yeah,
They're having to sleep in back rooms
yeah.
so as not to infect
Take their
their families
families. Yeah.
because we're so entitled and
Mm-hmm.
we think that we're so much better. But then the moment we get sick, we expect for you
To
to
come and
break your
take,
back to make me better.
make me better. Hey, I'm an American. I'm an
I
American.
mean, look at the picture that was just shared yesterday or earlier today of all the people with their yachts. They put all their yachts together to spell out, "We are in this together."
Well, when they gonna let me use that yacht? I just want to know when.
I'm
Hey,
like,
I'm getting
I'm
the
like,
fat Noel, Chris,
look.
Latrice. Come on, y'all. We about to get us one of these yachts, man.
I'm not even mad at your level of entitlement. I just put into the comments hashtag the Hunger Games. It's coming.
It's coming. LaWana Mayfield from Charlotte, North Carolina. Y'all, this is what victory is like. When we get together, we chop it up. You may not always like the things that we're talking about, and you may not be able to relate to how we think and feel, but instead of like criticizing it, what you should do is go, well, I'll be damned. This is what a conversation really is like when there's not mixed company. And that's real talk. That's
right.
This was a non-mixed company conversation with mixed company. So please understand, if you were offended by anything that was said here today, all I can tell you is it's a black thing. You wouldn't understand. But we love you, and we're going to keep on working it out.
And there'll be some black folks that don't understand it because that's not their reality.
That's not their reality, right. And so
enlightened thing because we have a different vision of what we are seeing happening around us because we chose a long time ago to take off the blinders.
Yeah.
And you can't unsee
what you've already seen
once you see it.
Yeah.
And we chose to continue to see opposed to walking around with blinders on.
But the thing of it is that if we want to create the change, if we want to see things be different, we have to actually get involved. We can't wait for somebody else to do it for us, right? We in the struggle because we recognize we have to use our gifts to do what we can do to make things better. My gift is to be able to talk all day. So I'm going to keep talking about the problems and the issues that we have going on, especially in my state of 92 counties, so that we can try to fix things and get people involved so that they understand that if you want to see change, we laid out a whole mess of issues, especially black folk, right? We've laid out a whole mess of issues. If you want to see them changed, you want to see them fixed, make sure you put your absentee ballot in the mail.
And let's have a different additional conversation. People, it takes less than 7 minutes. Complete your census.
Your census, baby. I had my sign over there. I took it down. I've already done it. Takes 3 minutes. 3 minutes.
It takes no time to complete. You sitting at home. You ain't doing nothing. It don't take no time in between. Okay, during the commercial break, while you catching up on the Tiger and whatever Real Housewives reality nonsense that's all scripted that you want to watch. Whatever.
Yeah.
Take the time to complete your census because that's going to determine, one, an additional congressional seat. It's going to determine funding for the teachers. It's going to determine funding for the schools. Maybe you can actually fight back from all the charter schools that are popping up and actually put more funding into the public school education, even though you got the Bessie DeVos up there. Either way, completing your census is the simplest way for you to be engaged, but to have a powerful impact on your community.
Boom, there it is. The system is in place. Learn how the system works, and then you can go ahead and make all the changes you want to the system. But if you don't know how it works, or you don't get involved, you can't make changes, and you'll be sitting around moaning and groaning, wishing and hoping that somebody will fix your life. Yo, Indiana's own Dana Black turned left. LaWana Mayfield coming all the way from Charlotte, bringing the funk. I told y'all thought I was playing. Y'all thought I was playing when I said she was gonna bring the funk. Real talk. Okay. That was a sister. This was a sister girl conversation that we have on a regular basis when we get a chance to get together and chop it up. Listen, Indiana's own Dana Black, turn left. We are always talking about how we can improve lives through our community. We acknowledge the issues and we talk about how we can fix them. You like what we're talking about? Continue to join in every week. I got a great host of guests coming on Thursday. Today is my only turn left specials. I didn't really get anybody else booked because, I got some other things I had to do. But I did, man. But look.
Man, you could never deny her split this time with me and somebody else.
Oh, my. No. Man, are you? I already knew. Well, normally I do like a specials, on a different day and all of that. Because you know what? I had to figure out how to do this thing because I didn't know how to do it. I figured out how to do it, and now I'm like, shoot, I can interview anybody I want.
Yeah.
Oh my God, we can make this thing amazing. So, and again, this is out of love because bottom line is if the more we share with people, if they're going to sit on Facebook, they might as well hear something, from real. And I've been interviewing people from all over the state of Indiana who are trying to fix this state because we still stuck in 1952 technically. And I would like for us to come into the new century. I would like to see that happen. There are still places I go in Indiana as a Democrat in Democrat spaces, and I forget to take my unicorn horn off, and I can feel the vibe, because I'm just me. I don't know how to be nobody but me. They want you to be somebody else. Can't do it. But this is what we doing, y'all. This was a fun show, because my girl she's no hold bar. She ain't in office right now, but she's the truth. Are you going to run again for something else, though?
You know what? I don't know.
Okay.
I am enjoying having my video podcast, Unapologetically Black, with LaWana Mayfield on the Square Media Network. We're on YouTube, Facebook.
Tag it on the show so people can find you.
So I have been enjoying having the same opportunity to have real conversation with people about across the state of North Carolina and things that we can do to help. I'm also getting back to my love of volunteering in community. I think there's still a lot more I have to offer. I just don't know at what level I want to do that.
Unapologetically Black. I like that. Indiana's own Dana Black. LaWana Mayfield from Charlotte, North Carolina. Y'all give it up. Hey, I will catch y'all on Thursday. In the meantime, stay up, stay positive. Get your census done. Get your absentee ballot in.